I'm back with David Weber today, asking more questions from Facebook. And the first question I have for you, David, today is from Richard M.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks, is there anything you've written in the Honorverse that you would have written differently today?
If I were starting the Honorverse today instead of 25 years ago, I mean, bear in mind that Honor Harrington is older than Facebook by like 9 years, something like that.
Okay.
And Twitter didn't come along for 2 years after that. In fact, when I wrote the first two Honor Harrington novels, the www net didn't exist yet. Okay? That's how long ago I started these books. And it's like a lifetime in terms of what's happened to electronics and computers in general. So, if I were starting the books today, I would have some different beginning assumptions for the computer technology involved in it, for example. There are some other areas where I would go, oh, that's really cool, but nobody was thinking about it 25 years ago. Some stuff I can kind of retcon into the books. For example, I am referring all the way through the books to people, with their personal comms and so forth. And it really isn't that hard to go from that to the concept of the Unilink that they're using now. Okay?
Okay.
And so I think most people probably don't even notice that, especially if they're coming to the series late. And especially if they read like A Beautiful Friendship and whatnot, which is set 400 or 500 years before Basilisk Station, where they're already using Unilinks. Okay. So if you come in and you've got those stories and you come through them, when you hit somebody, using their personal comm, you just sort of automatically go, oh, smartphone, and keep going. And fortunately, most of the situations that I had characters dealing with, their ability to just tap directly into the local infonet or whatever wasn't really germane to what they were doing.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I've done more stories in which that is germane as the internet has become more prevalent in real life, more omnipresent.
Right.
It wasn't so much that I didn't see the infonet coming, as it was that it just hadn't really worked its way into my storyteller DNA yet. Okay, some things did, some things didn't. Let's see. If I had it to do over again, I probably would not have let Eric Flint write from the Highlands the way it was written. He specifically asked me for something that a Havenite and a Manticorean agent could agree on. Somewhere where an enemy against whom they could find common cause. Okay? And so I gave him manpower without even thinking about the implications. But the implications were, by the time we got into the additional stories about Anton Zilwicki and Victor Kasha and whatnot, that's what pulled the whole Mason alignment thread forward. And that created a heck of a problem for me. The upside of it is that if it hadn't been for that, Honor would have been killed in the book at all costs, which would always have been a high-risk move. But which I had programmed in when I thought the first arc of the series was only going to go to about 5 or 6 books.
Okay.
I couldn't do that. And as I've said before, probably in some of the other videos, the reason I couldn't do it is that I wouldn't have had enough time for her kids to grow up to become the primary actors when the war with the Solarian League and so forth broke out, because of where the Mason alignment was at that point.
Okay.
So that whole story arc from At All Costs on, I've been playing catch up a little bit. And it all goes back to the fact that the Mason alignment is intruding into the light 20 years earlier than it was supposed to in my original time frame.
Okay.
The one book that I would like back in the Honorverse to actually edit. Well, there are two I'd like to edit. One is Shadow of Victory, the last one to come out. And the one thing that I would do differently in that book is I would go in, and I have a planet that's settled by ethnic Czechs and one that's settled by ethnic Poles. And I used the Polish and the Czech names for security organs and so forth on the planets, because that's what they would have been named in. And the acronyms for them wouldn't have matched an English translation of the Polish,
Okay.
So I went ahead and used the Polish throughout, or the Czech throughout. And for a reader who doesn't read Polish or Czech, that created problems. And there was time pressure and there were health issues involved that I think kept me from noticing that as much as I would have if I'd had the time to really think about it and concentrate on it. So that one, it's not a case of wishing I hadn't written, but wishing that I had it back to go ahead and use the English names, even if the acronyms didn't match. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
The other book that I really, in the Honorverse, I'd really like to have back to re-edit is War of Honor. Because War of Honor was written while I had another project going on simultaneously that hit a major hiccup that needed a lot of work that I had not allowed for because I wasn't supposed to be having to deal with it in this time frame. And if I'm remembering correctly, Simon & Schuster moved the release date up by a quarter on us.
Okay.
And so I wound up with less time to edit than I normally have. It's not that there's anything in the book that shouldn't be there. It's that some things are in there more times than they need to be, or at greater length than they need to be. I know people may find this difficult to believe looking at the length of the books that I publish, but I normally squeeze a minimum of 10 to 15% of the word count out in the final edit. Okay? I didn't get a chance to do that with War of Honor, which is why it is as long as it is. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the actual word counts, but I would not be surprised to find that War of Honor is maybe the second longest book in the entire story arc, including the one that I just handed in, which is like right on 290,000 words.
Okay.
But of course, it's wrapping up the story arc that began with Basilisk Station. And in 290,000 words, I still didn't have time to go everywhere that all the readers are going to want me to have gone to touch base with their favorite characters. And what are they up to right now? You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
You just can't do it.